Hey there, everybody. Welcome to a new This Is Us Season 6 theory discussion. Now, This Is Us is on hiatus.
Yeah.
We wish we could change that, but we can't. It will be back closer to the end of this month. But
Mhm.
while we wait for that, we have a lot to get into in this video in regards to Kevin.
Yeah, and it's all about the big question of who is he married to? We've seen him 10 years in the future where we
Yeah.
saw everybody at Rebecca's deathbed and he is wearing a wedding ring. So, who is he married to? We've got some ideas of who it could be and we'll talk about all of it.
Before we do, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button because this is your source for This Is Us,
Nice.
and we will be talking about every episode moving forward. We'll have another theory discussion, a preview of some sort next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that as well.
And also follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. We have a bunch of new pictures up of our dog, Coco Chanel Vanderwolf.
Yes.
So if you like cute dogs, it's a great place to be.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start this with a couple of theories that I just don't think this is where they're going.
Okay.
So one of the theories is Kevin is wearing a wedding ring, but he's not married to anybody. That he's wearing his father's wedding ring as like just a memory of him.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that to be true. I don't think that that's where the show is going to end things. For me, that wouldn't be very satisfying. I'm not sure how many people out there would find that satisfying. I mean, let me know if you're one of those people that the idea is that he just is single and he's married to himself, basically. He loves himself and, obviously he loves his dad and that it's just a symbol of love, family love.
Here's how many people I think would be satisfied by this. Zero.
Oh, I don't think zero.
No one.
I
Okay.
think there's a couple of people that would like to see Kevin just stop it with the, bouncing around from woman to woman and just be happy with himself. But I think he can be happy with himself and with a person.
I don't think he needs to wear the wedding ring as some sort of symbol of that. I want him to be happy with himself. I just feel like if they have some twist like that and he's not with anyone, it is going to feel like a cheat. It is going to feel like the final season of How I Met Your Mother when, spoiler alert for a show that is, forever old at this point. It's not actually even about him being with the mother at the end of all of it. It's going to feel like they're screwing with their heads and I will not like it in the slightest.
Okay, so there's another theory going out there and a lot of it sort of spun off after we saw that Nikki ends up with somebody new, that he met Edie on the plane and it's a really great relationship. And, is it possible that the person that he is married to 10 years in the future is somebody we haven't met yet?
It's possible. I like this a little bit better than he's actually single and wearing the wedding ring. Like, this is just
No, I don't like that one.
I just think this is just fully based on, do you introduce a good enough character? And I think it would be really, really hard to pull this off in the final season, especially because, like you said, we just did this with Nikki. So I think to do the same thing again with Kevin, it's gonna feel a little bit repetitive. I would prefer them not to do this.
No, it'll feel really recycled. They just did that this season. If it was like they had the reveal of Nikki maybe last season and then they did something like that this season with Kevin, okay. It's not going to be as satisfying for me because there's other women that have been introduced, which are the big four we're going to talk about, that if he ends up with any of those women, I would feel pretty good about it because he's had very good special relationships with them.
There's just so much more of an emotional case to be made with those women than someone who, what would we have? Just like a handful of episodes to get invested to at this point.
Yeah, and we're already going to have to do that with Philip. So, there's enough going on there. All right, so let's get into Zoe. We might as well start with her because we saw a very small interaction with them last season where she was kind of like, hey, it's good to catch up with you. I'm doing really well. I'm really happy in my life. The end. And we know that the actress who plays Zoe has been over on Power Book 2. I'm not going to talk too much about that.
Yeah.
But there is time for her to be able to come back and do both. I mean, Power Book 2 is over right now. It's done airing. So if she wanted to come and do some more stuff on This Is Us, it's more than possible. But personally, I feel like that story is wrapped up as much as I really liked her with him.
I think there's a good chance we'll see Zoe again, but I don't necessarily even think it'll be fully as some sort of opportunity or idea that she and Kevin could get back
Well, the
together.
question is she the wife?
I don't think she's the wife.
Me
Like, I
neither.
just think that if she shows up again, maybe she and Kevin will have a conversation. But I think in the end, she is a part of Beth's family. Like, there's a rational reason for her to be around as a part of the show. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it has just sort of been resolved with Zoe. I don't see there really being any narrative push behind this.
All right, so let's talk about Cassidy. So there's
Yes.
lots of Cassidy fans out there that want to see Cassidy and Kevin together, and I like her a lot. I really do.
Yeah.
Her character is just very honest and feels very self-aware of herself, of what she needs, what she doesn't need. We just saw her and Kevin Kevin's he's looking for love
Yes.
everywhere. And, he tried to sort of hold her hand, buy her ice cream. And she's just like, what are you doing? Like, this is not for me. I love the way that she put it together where it kind of wasn't about him or really anything. I know she mentioned, she's like, oh yeah, everyone you're around is a bit of a disaster. But she's like, but for me and how I feel for myself and what I know myself to be, you're not right for me. And I was like, oh, I really like the way they put that together, because Cassidy is a character who is she's on a road, and she's on a tough road, but she's aware of her road. I just love Cassidy. She's a great character.
Yeah. I love Cassidy. I love Jennifer Morrison. I think this is a really fascinating character. And this, if I was to just sort of like power rank in my head, the possible wives, or at least the possible future wives for Kevin that I'm rooting for, Cassidy would probably be number 2. Like, because I think for right now, it wouldn't work,
Those
obviously.
feel like fighting words in the comments.
I know.
No.
Listen, I'm boosting engagement for this video with all the Sophie fans who are going to come and destroy me, but that's fine. I can take it. So, Cassidy, I just think that the idea of her eventually getting on that road, and maybe Kevin gets on sort of a road himself, and eventually maybe they do get to some sort of place here, because she is sort of geographically very close to where the future compound is. Like, there is that sort of similarity that's there. Maybe further on down the road, he won't be back and forth anywhere near as many times. And I just think that they have an emotional connection. And I think that is one of the most important foundations for any relationship. So even if nothing is working right now, I mean, she's not going anywhere. Like Julia Brown, who was the co-executive producer and helped to write this past episode, like, I know she's said in some interviews with Deadline and other places that we will see Cassidy again and that she still has a role to play. So I feel like there is a chance that this is going to work out, but it's not necessarily who I think is going to be the wife in the end.
Yeah, I don't think she's the wife in the end. However, I think that what she shares with Kevin is so deep, and what she shares with Nikki is so deep, and it's a connection that not a lot of people understand, but the three of them, like, their relationship, I think, is a lifelong relationship, a lifelong friendship. Like, they're family in a lot of ways. And because she is on the East Coast, and, the new cabin is being built up there, or the new big house or whatever is being built over there, I think, like, they're just going to continue to have some kind of relationship. I know one of her concerns was, well, your kids are out on the West Coast and my kid is out on the East Coast. Like, it just could never work. But I just don't think that's really true. He's so wealthy. If he wants to fly back and forth, or fly Cassidy back and forth and her kid, like, all of that can happen. But I don't think she's the wife.
All right, let's just talk about Sophie now, because
rip off the Sophie.
All the Sophie fans are already mad at me. So, okay, here we are. Sophie, obviously, deep emotional connection with Kevin, long-term history. They were sort of each other's first loves. There's always going to be something between.
They were married.
Yeah, there's always going to be something between the two of them. Like, that part of it seems to be very, very much clear. It just, to me, the reason why I don't think this is going to be where it goes is so much about This Is Us, is kind of all about, what is happening in your life now. And yes, there's a lot of reflection on this show, but we've already sort of seen the story with Randall and Beth of like these two who fall in love a little earlier in life and have this long-term relationship. I feel like they're going to go in a little bit of a different direction here. I don't see this happening, but would I be shocked if Sophie comes back to the show? No, of course not.
I could see Sophie being the wife. I know that this show does like to take a turn on things and doesn't like to give something that's predictable. And the way that they've sort of ended everything with Sophie right now, it feels like it's pretty ended. I mean, the last time that they kind of talked or whatever, and she's like, oh yeah, I changed my number or whatever went on, and Kevin deleted her from his phone. It feels like they're done. But I mean, like you said a little bit with Randall and Beth and even Jack and Rebecca, I do think that this show does love, and they love the idea of sort of, the one. And Sophie would be that person, right? The love of his life, the person that he did really dirty like multiple times. Like, he has not treated her well. He's cheated on her, and he's not treated her very well. And the only way that I would feel satisfied with Sophie being the person is if it came together in a way where Kevin didn't need her for something, that it really was, he's in love with her and he's put in the work to make it right. Because a lot of the reasons that he's gone back and forth is stuff that he's like, it's about him and him like needing whatever, using her for whatever. And it just can't be like that. Like, love has got to be two-way street. And I just feel like Sophie deserves this Kevin that's, matured more and has changed a lot. But he's got to put the work in for her.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's time to put in the work in this final season.
I think there is.
It could happen. I may just be biased because I'm down to Cassidy and Madison Hole. I mean, ultimately, Madison is the person who's at the top of both of our lists. Like, I think we can say that pretty definitively at this point.
I agree. I know that not everyone agreed with my take on the idea that Kevin making that phone call to Elijah in, that episode where he was like, listen, about the smoothies, about this, about that. I feel, and I still feel this, I haven't changed my opinion on it, is that he did that out of love. I've seen some people say that he was doing it to sabotage her or sabotage a relationship.
No.
I do not believe that. That's not where I stand. And it doesn't mean that I'm right or it doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It's just an opinion. But I do believe that he ends up with Madison. I just think that relationship, it started out as a one-night stand and it turned into something really beautiful where they have a real foundation of sort of friendship and understanding of each other that, not everybody has, even in, the best of relationships. But the one thing that came out that I was like, okay, now the signs are really there. This came from a commenter a while ago on one of our This Is Us videos. I'm going to butcher your name and I'm really sorry, Nicholas Goetz. I'm sorry, but you had a great theory. And Nicholas's theory was that in the future, Kevin's house is full of bookcases that are full of books. Now, I am not saying that Sophie, Cassidy, or Zoe do not read, or Mystery Woman that we have not met yet does not read. I'm sure they all do. But they made it very much a point this season to point out that Kevin does not read outside of the subtitles of, Parasite, which was a great movie. But that Madison not only reads, but is part of book club. And like, her love of reading is at another level, that if you have these full bookcases at Kevin's house and he is married, that person is Madison Nicholas. 10 out of 10 theory. If you're even watching the channel anymore, I think you wrote that like a year ago.
It doesn't matter because I think this is right too, because as people and television love visual clues. Because they love after the fact, for people who have gotten those visual clues, they want to give themselves a pat on the back for putting those props in there for the first place. And I say this as someone who has watched like 4 episodes of Murderville this past week, which is all about visual.
Love that show.
Murderville is hilarious. Everybody should watch Murderville, but it doesn't matter. No, visual clues, you put those on any sort of show, and everything is purposeful. Everything is there for a reason. And whether you are talking about a murder mystery or a real life show, and the thing about This Is Us, they're not necessarily, I think, trying to throw like a bunch of visual red herrings at people. Like, I don't think they're going to come back later and be like, oh, you guys are dumb for pointing out these bookcases. The bookcases are there for a reason. And it just feels like Kevin loves Madison. And I would say that even if we didn't have that scene with Elijah, which, like you mentioned, I think that is very, very important, but he is emotionally invested in her. He's emotionally invested in this family. And just because they didn't get married, that doesn't mean that he doesn't love her. But I think the issue here is because of how everything got together, she needs to actually like legitimately feel that love in a long-standing and purposeful way.
Yeah, and it has to happen at a time that she's still in love with him, because she is moving on. And that's sort of where we're seeing things with Elijah. Like, love isn't always on time, just like the song, and timing matters a lot in this. And I understand that that's why there is a lot of people out there that don't think that Madison is going to be the person, because the timing of their relationship hasn't met up on a lot of different things. But it's, it just feels like the foundation is very real of how much they know each other. And, I think it's Madison.
I think we're going to be in for a really fun journey moving forward with all of this. And, ultimately, maybe Kevin's true love is the friends we meet along the way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he's just wearing the wedding ring for no reason.
Oh, boy. Okay, no. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us here. Hit that subscribe button. We will be back, of course, with more This Is Us coverage all season long. And we will see you here next time.